All yours, Emma.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the April Parish Council meeting of Chilthorne Parish Council on this, the 1st of April 2021. Over to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Emma. We'll open tonight then with an open session for Chilthorne parishioners. Any comments or anything?
Nothing's been sent to me. Anybody else got anything?
Okay. Apologies and absence. Mark sends his apologies.
Yeah, long-standing absence from Mark, as we know, and as I've just explained before the meeting went live, we've had an apologies from Councillor Williams as well. He's poorly. We'll be sending a report through as and when he can.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, item 2, declarations of interest, if there's any.
Tumbleweed moments, I'm taking that as none. Yeah.
Okay. Item 3, minutes of the previous meeting then. Everyone agree that they're correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Getting a thumbs up. Well done, Hamish. Item 4, County Councillor's report. Obviously, there's
to be awaited. Yeah.
To be awaited. So move on to item 5 then. District Councillor's report. Tony or Paul?
Oh, do you want to go first?
I know, Tony, you'd be the senior man here. Not an age, of course.
Oh, cool. Okay. Only a couple of things, really. We've had a DX meeting this morning, and it was talked about having full council meeting probably within the next couple of months at the Westlands Leisure Centre, because it's quite a big area in there, and for the councillors get there. But what they got to try and work out is how the public can get involved, and probably one of the ways is get Zoom in there. So if any of the public want to ask a question, anything to do with the council, they can through Zoom. So that our IT department on the council are looking into it. So that's something that might be happening in the future. There's no Area East this month because there's nothing for us to debate on there. So there's nothing coming up on there. The phosphates is still causing us problems. We can't go ahead, can't give any planning application except maybe an extension to a property or a conservatory. So, Chairman, I don't think there's anything else. If there is, I'll come back to you. But any questions anybody want to ask me, please do.
Thank you very much, Tony. Any questions for Tony? Paul, you got anything you need to add?
Reference to the phosphates. I've had Mark Warren on the phone again, and I don't know if the plan is good on purpose, but I did explain that they are very busy in the office or working from home, helping with the pandemic, etc. But he has found a company, because obviously he's going to have a treatment plant that can conform to the regs for phosphates. But it's no good for a big builder, but for a small builder, if this works, it would be very handy, because obviously until you get the phosphates, it doesn't matter what you're doing, it doesn't get built. So there is a bit of light there for the smaller builders. Whether it comes back, I don't know. But otherwise, no. I mean, there was a meeting last night reference the Stronger Somerset, and there's a big load of paper with it. And to be honest, we'll have a vote one day, I suppose, but I'm not convinced.
Okay, thanks, Paul. We'll move swiftly on to number 6 and highway matters. Over to you, Emma.
Yeah, I've made some tentative inquiries regarding SID prices from various places. When I say tentative, I've sent out feelers. I'm not having him back yet, unfortunately, to report back to you. One thing that I did consider suggesting was that with reference to locations, it may be worth a small working party getting together to try and come up with some locations, getting the photos taken, etc., for what we need to send to county to say this is where we'd like them. I don't know how people feel about that, because obviously I can't make a proposal.
Kevin, I thought you'd already done that.
We suggested a few places, but I didn't. I thought that was all was in hand.
Emma, what do we have to provide for that? Is it photographs of location on a map?
Yeah, it's photographs, locations on maps, and ideally if there is already street furniture in place that we can attach to.
The only street furniture I know of now is the one left outside of my property here, because the other one, as you enter Chilthorne or enter Chilthorne Domer on the Chilthorne Road, was removed when they'd done a small improvement scheme.
Yeah, but I think we can put them on to other signs, can't we, Emma?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be dedicated street furniture, dedicated poles. But if there are locations that we don't have a piece of street furniture already in place, therefore we would like to put a pole in, we need to identify that as well, that's where we'd like it, and we'll pay for a pole to go in. Can we have the permission, please, Mr. Highways?
Okay,
I'll take a walk through the village and up to Carpenters and down the other way towards yourself, Kev, and just take photographs of existing furniture if you like, and I'll file a report.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
do you want me to do the bottom end?
I can do all of it, to be honest, Tim. I'll just take the dog out and we'll go for a walk. It's fine.
Fine. Okay.
Okay. So there is one right outside on my hedgerow. It's on a 30-mile-an-hour repeater one, and you'll see the furniture there still. And we would like one the other side of the road. If you speak to Paul where he thinks it'd be a good position on the 37 to have a couple, and we would like one in Main Street, and we would like one up by the Carpenters there somewhere as they come down over the hill, probably in the old location or maybe on the new wigwags or whatever you call them up there on the new speed signs. Maybe that'd be a good place to put it.
So as far as extremities then, really, so I'll go down as far as Paul's, the halfway, to Paul's pub, sorry, and then all the way along to yourself, Kev, and then all the way up to the Carpenters.
Yep. I think okay. Tim had something he wanted to say.
I think the other location I'd like to see something is King's Hill, because we certainly get some people making full use of the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit on that, and I think that I'll have a look around this area, Adam, and see if there's anything I can suggest that we could include within that, because the bit where King's Hill turns into Main Street, basically between Church View and the old post office, is one of the areas that have been complaints from parishioners in the past about traffic speed.
Okay.
There is a pole by the council houses that has a bracket on it that I should think was used to fix the machine on before. It's on the left-hand side by the lay-by by the old council houses on the A37 going north.
Yeah, obviously those posts that have had the brackets on them already have obviously been identified previously by county highways as suitable locations. So if we can reuse those locations, that's ideal. There were comment made last meeting about other locations along Main Street somewhere as well. So maybe that's worth kind of just bearing in mind just for your recollections purposes.
Well, can I suggest that if anybody's got any ideas, we feed them into Adam. Adam, feel free to chuck back and say, can you provide pictures if we've got them? But if we collate ideas through you, then hopefully we'll get it right in one go.
I'll just basically take a Google Map overlay, and I'll put dots on there where the street furniture is, and put a photograph of what it looks like, so you can reference it as needed, really, and then we can take it from there in the next meeting.
Adam, I'm not here tomorrow, Adam, but I'm here on Saturday, Sunday, and hopefully Monday. So if you want to just give us a call or something, if you're outside, then we'll have a quick look together if you want.
Yeah, that's fine. Before the snow hits.
Yeah, brilliant.
Just one other thing on highways matters from myself. The potholes as reported to me on Chilthorne Hill Lane have been reported. I don't know if any obvious action's been taken on that.
They've put the red marks around, which needs doing, but I think the red marks are going to wear out before the new tarmac hits them.
Okay. And the other area of highway works needed, Tim, that you kindly provided photos for, I've also reported that as well.
Thanks.
Emma, the sign I talked about that was chucked on the verge down the A37 when they did the small movement scheme is still there. It's about halfway between Oakley Lane and the bus stop on the east side of the A37.
Thank you, Hamish. I'll report that.
Adam, did you have something you wanted?
Yeah, just a quick question, really. I'll be making a couple of notes of some dangerous drivers through the village getting their plates. I'm assuming there's a central place we can just log this from a general log perspective. But what's the best process to go in terms of reporting those things?
If it's dangerous driving, then you'll need to report them somehow via the police.
It's mainly the persistent ones. I'm making a note of number plates because there's persistent people in the village who are driving very, very dangerously. And I'm just trying to make a note of their plates because actually, ultimately, I want to get it reported. I'm just sick of seeing them roaring down Main Street. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
If you can't, we'll probably end up both doing the same thing, Adam, but I'll have a look and see if I can find someone to report it. But as I say, I'm sure you'll do the same as well. But it'll be somewhere, I suspect, on the Avon and Somerset website.
That's fine. I just wanted to try,
not,
where possible. A lot of this stuff goes into a pot somewhere, but I want, where possible, that to be the best pot for it to go into, so it at least has a chance of being noticed.
If you find out where to send it to, can we pass it around to everyone so we can all send in details of it?
Yeah, will do.
Thank you. Okay, we okay to move on to item 7, Emma?
Fine by me.
Yep, okay. Community safety and police matters.
Nothing received from the police, and the online ones are out of date still. I had got a little bit excited the other month when we had a report sent through that was more up to date. I kind of hoped that we might get regular reports sent through, especially as I sent a nice email back saying thank you. But unfortunately, no.
Okay. Item 8 then, financial matters and accounts.
You will all have received the spreadsheet.
Yep.
Which is almost the end of year spreadsheet. I'm just waiting for the March statement to come through from the bank. Did anybody have any questions on the spreadsheet? I'm predominantly looking at Hamish, as I always do at this point. He's shaking his head, so I'm guessing that he's not got any questions. And Tim's, seemed to add up, Tim, was that? So yeah, that's where we are. Nothing much is going to change, to be fair. It's only going to be somewhere between 17 and 19 pence interest to add, I suspect, between this and the end of the financial year spreadsheet. Which leads me nicely onto the, oh look, my camera's gone, which leads me nicely onto the end of year aspects. Are we happy that I go for an audit exemption like I have done for the last couple of years?
Yeah, go for it, Emma.
Yeah.
Hopefully then we don't have to go through a full audit, which then saves you money. That's marvellous. In that case, I'll carry on and do that. Item B, no receipts of note, as I say, 17 pence interest. Woo. Payments to be authorised are my salary and HMRC. I would normally have sent through pictures of that by now. I did try and do that before the meeting. I started that at 6:30. The basic PAYE tools from HMRC is the world's slowest program to start, and then it needed to update and restart. So it didn't happen. So that will happen after the meeting, but that's the only outgoings, and that's going to be the same total as previously, if you're all happy with that. Yeah, thank you very much. And no grant requests received.
Okay. We'll move on to item 9, planning matters.
Yeah, just the one application that's come in, change of use application from a car showroom to residential use for the ground floor of what is currently known as Avalon Garage on Chilthorne Road.
Mark's come over and spoke to me about it. He has no objections. I have no objections. To be honest, I'd sooner see it turned into a house than left looking like an eyesore.
Yeah, they're only asking for change of use at the moment, not without any of and the rest is all reserved anyway. So,
yeah.
I think.
What about the treatment plant?
They've got connection, haven't they?
They are on the main sewer, are they?
Well, no, council give it to them, didn't they?
Yeah, they will be, and it's connected through the rec sewer.
Okay.
That was on the plan. That was actually on the this application, I think. I suggest it's a very straightforward one at the moment. You know, we have a little bit more interest when we see the rest of the details, but for the moment, change of use looks very straightforward.
I think that's
it sounds very much to me like I'm going back with the no objections.
no objection, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Is that unanimous?
It is for me.
Dennis?
Yes, yep.
Thank you very much. Just so that I can.
That's my video.
That's my trick, Dennis.
Oh, no.
Item B, no decisions. Strangely enough, phosphates get in the way of everything. And no appeals because there's been no decisions. So that's about it for planning matters.
Okay. Clerk's report and correspondence, item 10.
It really is the Clark show at the moment, isn't it? There is a small stretch, 126 metres of Sherborne Road is being closed near Pittards for one night, overnight on the 20th of April to the 21st of April for Wessex Water to do some work to stop a leak. The diversion is back through Sherborne to Henstridge, up to Wincampton to the 303, then back through the A37. It is an enormous diversion, so people won't be taking it unless you really don't know where you're going. But that is the information that's come through from county, that for one night over the 20th to 21st, because of the closure of the A30, the A37 is being used as a diversionary route.
What I will say, when Tony and Paul's listening a minute, the closure of the A37 the other week, very poorly signposted. Don't know if any can be done about this or not. We come out of Penmill Trading Estate, gets right the way down by Halfway House with lorries and trailers, nearly 60 foot long, and lo and behold, the road is closed. And then they divert us back through Marsden Magna and Queen Camel through 7.5 ton weight limits because they closed the 303 as well. What an absolute joke.
I don't think, Chairman, much thought was gone into that. I've had a lot of complaints at this end as well. And what they've done is they put a sign up the other end of the cheese factory at Red Post there, saying that Ilchester is shut off, which it hasn't, because you can actually go in Ilchester to the roundabout at Northover and back out again if you wanted to.
Yeah.
That was wrong. So I've had a lot of complaints about it. But one thing I got to say is they made a damn good job of that road. They really have. They
very well did make a good job of the road, but I'm on about the signage for large vehicles coming out midway between the closure. There was no provisions put in for them.
I agree
There's no
with
need either, because the first half they did some months back, they did at night.
Yeah.
Well, when we leave at 4 a.m, it's still at night.
Oh, all right, then you would have been stuffed then.
Yes, we were not very pleased, I can tell you.
I tell you what, you would have been less pleased if you'd heard the person responsible for putting the signs out.
Yeah.
Because I have two lads staying here who do the traffic lights for the gas mains going in. And they made the comment, surely you should put the sign somewhere a bit more prominent. And the attitude of the bloke was tough. I don't give a monkeys.
Hmm.
And if you've got people like that putting signage out, you've got no chance.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, they're diverting us through 7.5 ton weight limits, but not telling us. There's no advance warning. But anyway, that's just an observation I made, and I thought I'd highlight it. Maybe something could be looked at or passed on. So, okay, to move on to item 11, Emma.
Fine by me, thank you.
Can you stop moving around the screen, please?
It's because my video keeps cutting out.
Okay, item 11 then, Adam, allotments.
Yeah, so I think there's been some good progress made in terms of planning this last month, actually. So as I reported last month, the ground workers have been prepped now, so we've kind of covered it all over, prepping and killing off all the couch, which is going really well. Since then, I'll share my screen. It's a very uncommon thing to do this on this session, but what the hell? Hang on a sec. So I've now put on the further to the meeting we had a couple of months ago in terms of the agreement about things such as the refundable deposit, in support of the Green Steps newsletter, which is going out tomorrow or the day after. It's basically going to be now formally announcing the availability of the allotments in terms of there are slots available for those who want them. So the update was last month we had one person with a definite yes please, and we had other people who'd shown general interest. So we're hoping that this with the newsletter going out to all the parishioners, we'll get a good response to that, which would be great. Essentially this is on the website, just giving very detailed, sort of very brief information about what's going on, and then a small table at the bottom here showing the availability of the plots. So we're directing people to send in a response to via the website with interest, and then I'll contact them back to then discuss what's going to go on. Which brings me essentially to let me stop sharing this now a second. To the point in terms of the beds and the layout. So we're at the stage at the moment now, really, where I put some costs together for starting now to put furniture onto the plot, and I'd like to get high level permission indicator for that, with the view it'll be dependent on who responds to the newsletter and the numbers respond to that. But basically, I wanted to share the cost with you. So this is to build 4 raised beds. There's the option of whether we fill those with compost or not. So I've got a cost for that, and we need to decide whether we're going to do the initial fill or expect the people using them to do that themselves. Then the cost for 2 IBC containers, which will be obtained from Duffields in Yeovil. I've got a contact down there. I've already sourced 5 for the other allotment owners. They're ready at the moment, so they're really good. And then building a rainwater harvester on the back of the plot, which was on the initial 3D layout that I shared with yourselves. So at the moment, the total cost is circa £700 for all of that, and that doesn't include costs for labour in terms of building it. I'm offering that free of charge to the village, but essentially it's to build those beds. £210 of that is compost, so it's circa 46 litre bags to fill 4 beds. So it's either looking for £700 or 490 indicative at the moment. So I wanted essentially to get a general consensus and permission as to whether you're happy to proceed on that basis.
You're looking for me to lead this one, are we?
It's out in general. Obviously, I've been talking about this for a lot of months now, really, and it's obviously been getting to the stage where you know, we've got interest in the village for using it. We've put together a plan. Obviously, we've got, and this is a case of now whether we're supportive of progressing this in terms of the better the village. Obviously, Green Steps and the other allotment owners are very pro it, and people have been showing interest and walking past and asking for information. So if we have interest for at least for the beds, obviously that will then obviously drive interest, but then obviously it'd be nice to sort of see that starting being used and people taking advantage of that.
Okay, first of all, this one thing we need to clarify: is this the community allotment, the Green Steps allotment, or
this is a parish council led project?
Okay.
But we're obviously at the moment, Green Steps are from an environmental point of view and supporting that, they are actively sending out messages to all of the parishioners to promote, you know, doing things that are more green for the village. So it's naturally we're utilising that, but it's very clear that this is a parish-led project for the village.
Yeah. Well, I'm still at the opinion of we've paid for the allotment, but nothing's happened. So I really can't justify £700 or even £490 when nothing's actually happened there. I don't know how everybody else feels about this.
I mean, yeah, Adam, quick question. That amount, is that per, that's the total. What's the cost per raised bed per plot?
So it depends, like I say, whether we want to fill them. So the cost that I've given you includes the raised beds, the compost, the IBCs, the posts, the construction of the rainwater harvester, the roofing as a whole. The timber, which is the most expensive piece of this, really is £350 for 4 beds. So it's just under £100 a bed. And that's for essentially 4x2 timber, 3 high. And that's I've got those costs from essentially building them as myself for my plot. So I use that model to drive the costs out.
I think there's something to be said there for us potentially funding the bed, but not that the individuals would be expected to provide the compost or soil to fill it, because they're the ones, you know, they're going to get the full benefit of, you know, how good it is, you know, how good the soil is, or whatever. I mean, it's also not going to be cheap to fill the beds with either soil or compost. Topsoil is easier to come by if somebody's prepared to donate it. Compost's not cheap. So, how much of that costing of yours, Adam, is the fill?
So £210 is a bulk purchase of from a supplier, essentially, to deliver 40 bags of 40 60-litre bags of manure compost mix. So if we decide not to do that, it's £490 for the initial build. But then obviously not all of that is the cost if we then add another 4 beds on behind that.
The problem is, Adam, we still got nobody interested in, you know, we've got no actually signed up to nothing.
Yeah, Kev, I've clarified that.
Yeah.
We have somebody who's already interested.
Yeah, we have interest, but nobody digging or nobody doing nothing.
Yeah, but we can't do that until we've put
do they want us to put the seeds in as well for them?
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, this is a case of whether we want to get behind the village in terms of supporting our greener footprint, right? You know, this is always going to be the case of where we get to the stage where the land is prepped and we can drive interest, but we're going to have to support this project financially somehow I've put a lot of time into this free of charge, a lot of effort into it. And at some point, the plan was always to essentially provide the raised beds as a means of demarking and giving it to people. So we either decide we're going to progress with this and provide this as a project to invest in, or we can it.
I think, Kev, that there's a certain amount of infrastructure that we have to put in if we're going to do this as a community one. I think, at the same time, the people coming in have to put more of a commitment in than just the £10, just the initial £10 charge. So my suggestion would be here, we've got to take a bit of this on faith. It is the time of year that we would expect people to start, to be interested in starting to do allotments. I think we have to look at if we're going to do this at all, we have to pay for that basically for a minimum cost for the infrastructure, so people know what they're getting into. Then they have to actually use it.
I know Tony wanted to speak, but I'm going to just butt in on top of Tony there. Tony did offer some timber ages ago, and I don't think anybody's taken him up on this.
Two things, Chairman, if I may. One is, yes, I've got loads of them here. If you want some of these raised beds, I'll give them to you. I've got loads here that I've acquired, and obviously they come as a bottom base of a pallet, really, and it's real sturdy wood. I think about half an inch thick, if not more, and about 8-10 inches high, something like that. You're more than welcome to have many of those. That will keep the price down. The other thing is, Chairman, Paul and I could try and get a grant from Tim Cook. We can get a grant up to £1,000, and it wouldn't cost the parish council anything if we could do that. So there's something to have a think about if you decided to go forward with it, Chairman.
Okay, that's put a different light on it and put a smile on my face. Thank you very much, Tony. Would we be interested in that, Adam?
Yeah, I'll take whatever help I can get.
It would look nice if the parish council offered a bit as well in support of this £1,000.
Well, you could go 50-50. I mean, if we could get you some money and you go 50-50 and put it in there. But what I'd like is for Adam to contact me sometime or other, come round in Ilchester here and have a look and see if what I've got is any good for what he wants. He can have them.
Happy to do that, Tony. I'll touch base with you afterwards.
Lovely.
I think they're called pallet collars, I believe they are, Tony, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. And I'll tell you what, they're blooming good wood and they'll last a long time.
Yeah, they're about 1 inch thick.
Yeah, that's right. You got it.
Yeah, I know exactly what they are. I'd be happy with a compromise, Adam. But obviously, like I said, I do want to see some work there, really.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, this is as a parish councillor, this is my incentive to run. It's not for me to run and do all of the labour, because that's not sustainable.
No,
and that's obviously been why I've been trying to drive and do a partnership with Green Steps to try and get some help to do this.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we need to there'll be a point, no matter what the sum is, where there needs to be an investment in it, and it's always going to be a risk, and that's why essentially as part of the design, the view always was, we'll start off building 4 beds. If that goes nowhere, then that's the limit of our loss. But actually, if that does then succeed, we can then continue that pattern back across the allotment, depending on what the demand is.
Tim?
Can I suggest, Adam, we've gone out, you're going out with Green Steps. I've just read the notice in the newsletter that's going out. If that doesn't get people coming and knocking at your door and saying they want one of them, then we've got a problem.
That's exactly what I've said, Tim. Yeah. I've basically, my first comment of this was, this is on the proviso we get demand. If there's no demand, I'm not interested in running it, because I want this to be essentially, we get to the renewal point in our lease. We've paid the £20 or £30. I've forgotten what it is, Emma.
But I think, sorry,
25.
Can I just jump in a second? I think we're in a fairly simple decision tree here, because if you don't get any interest, we don't go forward. If we get an interest up to 4 people, then for them to go forward, we've got to do some of the infrastructure work to support that. If we get lots more than 4, then the costs per person go down, but the total cost will go up slightly. If we get the money that Paul and Tony are trying to get hold of, again, that simplifies matters. But I think, to my mind, perhaps I'm being simplistic, but there's not many what ifs here. And the first bit is, are we prepared to put in either the basic infrastructure, and or a 50-50, for anything we can get as a grant. And I think, if we agreed on that, if we were to agree on that, subject to getting 4 people prepared to sign up, then I think you'd be in a position to go forward. But I think, otherwise, I think we've got a fairly simple hurdle we need to set to move to the next step. And I can fully understand Kevin's position. It's what do we need to make sure that within 2 months we've got something actually working here. But it's not just going to be people, it's got to be something that we're going to have to put something in that time scale as well.
I'm happy with that, and so I just don't want to spend £700-800, and then nothing happens, and then everybody goes, "Oh, that's £700-800 wasted." That's all we don't want to get into. So
I completely agree.
Yeah, but I think we have to be prepared to probably, fund that first, 200 and something, subject to getting the initial, people signing up for this. I think the rest, exactly how much it is, will depend, but how much we can get in and elsewhere, and it also does depend on how, we're not going to spend a lot more than that if we only get 4 people.
So as an action, then I'll take an action to go and have a chat with Tony and meet with him outside. I wanted to present this as an indicative plan because ultimately, we're going into next time we meet is going to be the 6th of May. And, I'm not wanting to have a month delay each time we need a decision point, because ultimately we're then kissing into the time when people could be using this if we get an interest. So either we, discuss the plan and say, okay, actually for 4 beds, based on the cost we get back, can we have an indicative agreement of the approach? And then midway through this month, we can clarify the costs and either agree them offline based on the initial decision being made. I don't mind how it matters, but essentially, if we delay this a month or 2 months, well, for the growing season, we've kind of written off this year.
Chairman, if I can come in quickly, I know you want to have this as a parish council-led scheme. Now, if we got that £1,000, that's Paul and me got it, it would be a parish-led scheme because that money goes straight into your account and you, as a parish council, will be doing it. You see where I'm coming from?
yeah, okay, Tony, brilliant, mate.
So
Tony, sorry, Karen.
Sorry,
Carry.
Emma, I need to ask Emma. Tim Cook is the person that you want to send an email to, asking if there's some funding for a community-led allotment for your village, and you need some money to buy some equipment or whatever it is. I mean, Adam's got a rough idea what it's going to cost. If you put that to him, there should be £1,000 that we can, as Paul and I can give to our parish, and you should get that.
Thank you very much. I was just about to ask what the process was for that. I think from what you've all said then, for the purposes of my minutes, I need to know what you're happy to pay for at this point, with or without a grant. So that, as Adam says, we're not waiting another month and another month and another month so that we can...
Well, Emma, can I just say, well, Chairman, I'm just butting in again.
Yeah,
If Adam got time tomorrow, I'm about, and if he wants to come down, have a look. That's the first thing. So if you can say, right, that's going to save us £200 or £300 because we don't need the raised beds that we have to buy, then all you got to look to as a parish council is the compost, really.
And the rain harvester, yeah.
Harvester and IBCs.
Yeah.
So that I would suggest that maybe as a council, you need to decide if you're happy to pay the full cost for the raised beds, if Tony's bits aren't what is needed or what aren't.
I've essentially
suitable.
given the worst case costs, essentially. We can do this to get 4 beds and everything put in for 700 quid. And obviously we're going to try where possible to be frugal with that and either apply for a grant or save money by reusing timber.
Sorry, Adam, reusing a timber would effectively, but by my calculations, drop you down to something like 300, wouldn't it?
Correct.
Or further if the parishioners are going to be expected to provide their compost.
Well, there's the rainwater harvester and the rest of it in there, which is, I think, the majority of the rest of it, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, I mean that's right. I mean the rainwater harvest, the IBC is normally a £200 a pop new. I've got them for 35 quid from Duffields. So I've tried to be as frugal as I can with that, and they're all good, Nick. So yeah, to be honest, the biggest cost here is the timber.
When does the actual lease run out on it? When's the renewal date? January window?
We paid the cheque on the 28th of May last year. I haven't had a chance today to have a look at the lease. Adam, you may know this. Does it go financial year or does it go from a year from when you took it?
It's a year from when you took it. And the cheque would have been paid before they would have given you the lease. So our lease renewal would be June. So we've got essentially this month to decide, are we progressing with this? And otherwise we'll decide not to renew when that point comes.
Chairman, if I can add on there again, it's just a thought that sometimes I've known that allotments, the parish council has supplied the allotments and in case put the raised beds, but they're filled by the people that take it on the allotment. So they'll fill it with their own compost, what suits them for what plants they want to plant in. You see what I'm saying? And then that cost will come down again. So it's there, you say, look, this is what we've given you. You fill it with what you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, we're just coming down that Adam's going to go and have a look at the timber, see if it's suitable. The compost will be supplied by their own people. So we're looking at the rainwater harvesters and the IBCs. Is that correct, Adam?
Correct.
Which is about from I think, Adam, I wrote down 490, I think is what you said.
Yeah,
490 is including the compost as well. Bear in mind the costs for the timber are pretty concrete because that's based on what I shelled out a couple of weeks ago, as are the IBCs and the compost. The postcrete corrugated roofing for the rainwater harvest and guttering, they are approximate costs, which is why I said circa at the beginning, but then they're going to be plus or minus £10 or so, depending on where I can get them from.
So from my notes, I've got circa 700 for everything, which is inclusive of £210 for the compost.
Correct.
So if the parishioners are expected to provide their own compost, that brings the cost down to 490. Yeah, just so that I've got the right figures, Adam. Thank you.
Of which we think we can probably get a grant towards some of this.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we just need to take it to a vote, don't we, Ray? In favour?
What are you voting on here? Just so that I'm. Are you voting on the whole 700 or are you voting on the 490?
Can I propose £500?
What would you like, Adam?
At the end of the day, I'd like to. I mean, we can. If we class it on the worst case scenario and even just build 2 beds, right? You know, that's going to be taking 150 quid off the cost of it. So I think at the end of the day, we need to decide. I'd like to get approval so that I can come back to you midway through this month and give you a firm cost within that bracket. So essentially, I'd like approval for the worst case, but I will be coming to you again for another approval before anything is spent to confirm again offline whether you're happy to do that, but it'd be within the bounds of what is agreed today.
I think Paul was going to propose 500, yes.
Yeah, I think if we say put steel in at £500 on the condition we get uptake on the allotments, to give them some flexibility.
Would that
Sorry,
suit you,
Dennis?
Adam?
That'll be great.
With Paul's proposal.
Okay. Everyone happy with that?
Did we have a vote on that in the end?
Yeah, I think
Did
everyone
I miss
was.
that? Sorry, was I writing at the time?
Yeah.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you.
Okay.
There must be more chance of getting a grant if we've contributed some money.
It would be, certainly.
From my perspective, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mind where the money comes from. It's just a case of trying to get this project to the state where it's actually moving, or not. And I think that's where I'd like to get to. If we get the grant, then that would be fantastic.
Adam, how are you fixed? If you took up Tony's offer and had some of his timber, how are you fixed for getting it back?
For getting it back,
No problem. Can I step in there? I'll deliver it for you.
Yes, Tony.
He obviously wants rid of it.
He wants to get rid of it, I know.
Listen, it's too good
think you
for
got
firewood, all right?
enough for 10 allotments now.
Yeah. Well, all the better. And specific thanks to Mark Batstone as well for providing some providing tires and covering as well, and to yourself, obviously, Kevin, for providing some cardboard for the existing allotments. That's been really useful. But yeah, Mark was very kind to provide used tires and some sheeting for the allotments so far. So thank you very much for that.
Just so that you guys are aware that when I speak to Tim Cook at South Somerset, I will be asking him to match fund for 500. So that should hopefully then cover the 8 beds rather than just the 4.
Can I suggest, Emma, before you contact Tim Cook,
I'll wait for your firmed up numbers.
The reason being is if on a fluke, I would love this to be the case, but we get a full uptake of 12 beds wanting to be used this season, then we obviously might want to adjust how much of that we're going to go for a grant. So I will come back to you based on the feedback I get from the survey, the newsletter that's going out this week.
Great, thanks. Will do. I'll hang on and wait to hear from you then.
Okay.
Before I talk to Tim.
It's nice to see there are still some optimists in the world.
Oh, better be imperative.
It's my middle name, Hamish.
Related to age, Hamish.
We're going to move on to item 12.
Right, very little to report. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful with the climate change emergency funding request for solar panels on the village hall. However, Hamish may have some news, or I can give him the news on the application for the REC later. The village hall committee is still looking at options for reopening, subject to the government guidelines, but at the moment it's looking like probably the June date is going to be the next significant change. I have spoken to the chairman, and she is open to us potentially using the village hall on a Thursday night up till September. I think if we need to have our meetings there in the main hall. The reason for September is that that's when we're hoping that the dance group will be restarting again, subject to all things COVID and government regulations. But that could give us an initial solution, but we'll touch on that, I suspect, later in the meeting. Otherwise, no significant change from the overall position I gave you last month.
Okay, thank you very much, Tim. Item 13, Recreational Trust. But before we go into that, I want to say thank you very much to Tim for all the hard work he put into getting this money secured for the solar panels and everything. I know you put a lot of work into that, Tim. Thank you very much. I know it didn't work out on the village hall one, but yeah, round of applause, I think, for Tim on that one.
Thank you. I think I've got a working principle. 1 out of 3 is better than none out of 3 on it. And I think you know, that's £15,000 just over coming to the village.
Yeah, very much appreciated.
Yeah, Emma, I've not seen any further information other than the initial letter that came through, so I'm obviously waiting out until we get the detailed T's and C's.
Yeah, I've nothing through yet, so as soon as I get it, Tim, I'll forward it.
Brilliant.
Okay, anything on the recreational trust, Hamish?
Well, funnily enough, I had a little note here to thank Tim and Joan for the application, all the work they put in on the application, and then, of course, the hall was unsuccessful. I don't know anything about the prices or that, but they're going to put the panels on the south side, obviously, of the main building, so there shouldn't be too much trouble by footballs hitting them or anything like that. But I don't quite understand it. Is this coming through the parish council so that VAT can be, because it'll be 5%, I expect, can VAT can be reclaimed or not?
Yes, it is. It'll be a parish council funding, parish council ordering. I've already said I'll get involved with the project management of it. Obviously, the rec committee are going to pull their weight on it as well. And I've had a number of discussions with both Angie and Lynn on it. I think it'll be good. I mean, it'll certainly make a significant difference to the rec's electricity bill, and that is actually higher overall than the village hall one. So I could understand. I mean, it was £1,000 less because of the village hall's asbestos in the roof and the money we put in for that. So it was less and actually achieved a little bit more on the climate change piece. So I'm not totally surprised that when they picked the rec over the village hall, but we'll put the village hall one in again if the opportunity arises.
Well, the Recreation Club of Trust, of course, use electricity all the time when they've beer in the cellar, keeping it cool and such. So I expect it will make quite a difference.
At least they get off peak on that at the moment.
They're going to have a bar refurbishment, and they're sorting out quotes and start date on that now. And the football training from Ash junior teams should have restarted by now. The club Thursday and Sunday sessions could start on the 17th of May, and bookings for inside, I think, can start on the 21st of June, and you've had some inquiries. So things are looking up a little bit.
Tim?
Okay, Hamish, anything from you on the idea that a community shop is opened once a week, Saturday afternoons? Up there, Lynn was reporting on that to the Green Steps meeting last month.
Yeah, Lynn did mention it in an email, but I don't think anything's been settled yet. It's whether you'd get continued support for it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones to try and see.
Suck it and see, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay. Move swiftly on to item 14 then. Any other urgent matters raised by permission of the chairman?
The railings in the wall round the war memorial need attention.
If anybody's got any suggestions as to who to approach to give them attention, I'll be more than happy to approach them. I've tried several and nobody is interested. On that note, if anybody knows anybody that can get rid of my asbestos roof, I'd be glad for recommendations. But no, if anybody has any recommendations as to who might do the railings in the wall, then
I think we tried a couple last year, didn't we?
I've been trying for ages, but just nobody's interested. It's too small a job. They've got too much on, and all the rest of it. COVID has meant that an awful lot of people are doing works in their house or in their garden, and therefore an awful lot of these kind of external decorator type people are busy as busy bees.
Do we have any tradesmen in the village that we could approach?
Yeah, we tried one, didn't we? I can't
tried
remember his
Nigel.
name now.
Yeah, it's Nigel, but I didn't hear anything back.
There's a painter decorator in the village. I can't remember his name now, but I think he's more
funny enough,
internal.
I was going through the old invoices today, trying to do a bit of spring cleaning. Ian Stent, I believe his name was.
The one.
He was the one that did it last time.
I'll tell
Is
you
he
who
still
else
in the
might
village?
be. Yes, I'll tell you who else might be interested. Is the one that moved the salt bin for us. You know, Mark's Richard.
Yes.
That would be a good man to approach. He would probably do it.
He's part of the Rotary. No, hang on, that's somebody different. But there's Mark has given me the name of a guy that's part of the Rotary Club for that very intention, but he's not returning my calls. I've obviously upset him. I don't know. I've never met. Well, I have met him. He used to run Ryman's, but I've never spoken to him outside of that environment. So, but you know, my reputation is obviously preceding me.
He moved a salt bin for us, didn't he? Richard, is it Richard? Richard Vaughan.
Richard Vaughan.
Yeah, he didn't.
Yes, I've got his contact details. I will try him. I will try the other guy that Mark's suggested, and I'll try and get hold of Ian Stent, unless anybody's got kind of a friendship with Mr. Stent that they want to approach him.
No, I just
know. No, that's fine. I'll try those three.
Thank you very much, Emma. I know you'll do your best on that.
I'm just wondering. Sorry, Emma, I'm just wondering. I was looking at there's a couple of the site like My Builder where you can actually put a piece of work up, and see if anybody wants to bid for it. I think the chances of getting anything is slim, but it might be worth trying.
Unfortunately, Hamish has just left us. I don't know what the works to the wall required are. I know that the railings need stripping back and repainting.
Probably repointing, I suspect.
As I say, we just lost Hamish, unfortunately. I'll try and phone Hamish and see if it is a repointing job, and I'll try and go through something like My Builder or.
If we can try and keep it in the village, then we're more likely to get someone who's going to do a good job for us because it's for the village they live in.
Yeah, because they care about the village.
I'm just aware that with My Builder, it tends to get a little bit complicated with finding someone who's going to do a good job.
About Nigel down the bottom of the lane here, Nigel.
I did approach Nigel through somebody. I can't remember. I think it was through Julie, because that's how long this has been going on, and I've heard nothing back from Nigel at all.
Okay.
Paul, do you still see Nigel on a relatively regular basis?
He's just done a job for me. It's taken 6 months for him to do it. He's so busy.
Yeah, this is the problem, is that everybody is so busy.
But if we can get someone booked in, then
yeah, if it's in 9 months' time, it doesn't really make much difference, does it? At least in 9 months' time, it's going to get done.
Yeah, exactly. And it means that also, if they are in the village, if they have an odd weekend, they're looking for something to get out of the way, they can pop along and crack on and do it, can't they? So
yeah, or if they finish another job early and don't want to go too far from home. Yeah,
it's close enough for him.
It certainly is. I'll try Nigel again as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know Richard will do a bit of repointing as well. So.
Yeah, I'll leave that with me. I'll try again.
Okay. Move on to item 15, date and time of meeting. So,
yes, we squeeze in on the 6th of May. The regulations for Zoom meetings or virtual meetings of any sort end on the 7th of May. So our normal date of the 6th of May squeezes in. So that can be a virtual meeting. That will be the annual parish meeting. We didn't have one last year because of obvious reasons. So we will have an annual parish meeting. So I'm sure that Hamish is more than aware that the chance for a potentially slightly more thorough. Not that there's a huge amount going on at either the recreation or the village halls, but that's the opportunity for those bits. And then it will be the annual parish council meeting, at which point Kevin won't be allowed to step down as chairman unless somebody else wants to step up.
I know he's staying there.
So that's kind of what happens at that meeting, basically. And we'll start the first annual parish meeting at 7:30. It will be a timed event. I think it was about 6 minutes last year, or last time we did it, for the annual parish meeting, and then the annual parish council meeting will start immediately afterwards. Following that, I have spoken to the booking secretary for the village hall, and have penciled in, depending on what the village hall decide and are happy with and regulations allow, etc., the June meeting and the July meeting to be in the main hall to allow for social distancing still. Obviously, all of that is subject to the legal challenge for the end of the virtual meetings not being successful, because then you guys will have to make a decision as to whether you want to go virtual or whether you want to go face to face.
Well, Mark won't be coming back until it's face to face. Here's Hamish coming back.
That we're probably still going to be fit on the rule of 6, aren't we, at that stage for the June one?
Yeah, the June one won't be after the June the 20 something, isn't it? 21st is the
20th. I think it's just before midsummer, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's it's certainly kind of mid to end of June that everything's back to normal. Apparently, that's the timetable that we're working to currently. But the June meeting will be scheduled to be before that. So I'm not quite sure how that rule of 6 is going to apply.
If depending on what the parish council wishes to do, I'm happy to try and support putting a solution in place to allow us to have a blended meeting, to still stream online, but for certain people to attend virtually should they be unable to attend virtually, or should we be restricted by the rule of 6. I'll take the steering from the council in terms of whether you want to do one or the other.
I think actually I'm kind of hoping that my district councillors in the meeting, or my county councillors that I'm in contact with on a regular basis through work, might give me a bit of a steer as to how the rule of 6 is going to apply for council meetings. Because any council meeting is going to be more than 6.
Yeah.
Well, Parliament has more than 6 in it.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. I'm waiting to see Parliament going back after the 7th of May. All of them piling back into the House of Commons. Oh no, hang on, they can't because of social distancing.
That's one of the things that we're looking at, because what was said was we're trying to have a meeting now, a proper meeting with everybody in there, and it'll be more than 6 people. We got 60 councillors on the.
Is it the rule of 6 obviously is for an unorganized event, for people kind of getting together for a social. However, work-based meetings, it is dependent on the size of the room, isn't it? So I'll be interested to know what the regulation says, because ultimately this is an appointment. This isn't a gathering.
This is a meeting. This is
exactly.
Yeah.
So I would expect that would fall under the work remit. In which case, depending on the size of room we meet in, will depend on how many people can be present at that meeting.
I was reading the regulations yesterday again, and to say that they have been written in a confusing and indecisive manner would be a bit of a charming understatement. I think that's we are going to be a small fish. I suggest, Chairman, that we leave this and see what flaps around over the next month, and hopefully get some better guidance.
Yeah, I agree, Tim. That'd be a good idea. Do we want to drop back to item 14 a minute, because Hamish brought up about this wall?
Yeah, Hamish, we lost you. We lost you, Hamish. Yeah. Is it just some repointing that needs doing, Hamish, on the wall?
Yes, I would say it probably has to be done maybe with lime mortar. I'm not sure.
Okay, that's a good point. I will check what the listed bit is. Which bit of the wall is it that needs doing, Hamish? Is it the bit with the railings on it?
Yes, it's the bit with the railings on it on the roadside.
Okay, so not the internal bit.
No, I haven't really looked at that.
I'll check exactly where the listing is, because it may be that they can not necessarily have to do it in lime mortar if it's not listed. It will just need to be something that will match with lime mortar.
There is a handyman advertises in the Tintnell newsletter, Parish magazine. I think his name is Woodhouse or something like that. I can't quite remember. But and I don't get it. I used to get to read a Tintnell magazine because somebody in the village got one and I delivered it. Well, I read it first.
Okay.
Is it online?
Sorry, Kev?
Is the Tintnell one online?
Might be, I don't know. My internet connection is unstable, it tells me.
Yeah, so was mine just now. We had a big message come up on the screen.
I will see if I can find an online Tintnell magazine. If not, I will talk to the Tintnell clerk and see if she can find out for me. Or he. I'm not sure who it is down there at the moment.
Thanks, Emma.
But we did come up with a few other names, Hamish, whilst we lost you. So I'm going to contact and see if we can get somebody interested. Even if it gets, as Adam said, gets booked in for 9 months' time or something, at least we know that it's going to be done. If they're really busy, then it's something that they've kind of got as a back burner. And if it's somebody local, again, as Adam says, it's going to be a nice job because they're going to care, and it might be something they can kind of fit in when another job finishes early, or they've got a weekend spare or something.
If I catch Nigel when he drives past, I'll stop him, but I'll see what happens over the next few days.
Cool, thank you. But no, as far as the meetings are concerned, next one's okay. And by which point we will have more of an idea of what we're going to have to do for June and July, but I have penciled in the main hall at the village hall for those meetings.
Thank you, Emma.